Hello Daily Drafters and welcome to the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth pre-release guide here on the channel designed to get you ready for your pre-release events this weekend. This video will be full of useful information for beginners to seasoned veterans, whether this will be your first ever pre-release or if you're looking for Tales of Middle-earth specific information to make sure you're on top of your game at your LGS. If you're looking for a complete rundown of all the mechanics in the set as well as a deep dive into every single draftable archetype, check out the link in the top right visible right now, or the link in the description to the Lord of the Rings archetype guide here on the channel. But for those of you here for the pre-release content, whether you're new here or have been here a while, stay tuned for the ultimate guide in helping you crush your Lord of the Rings pre-release. Now, some of you might be asking yourself, what exactly is a pre-release? Well, each year there are roughly 4 main set releases of Magic the Gathering products, and most local game stores run what's called a pre-release for each of these main set releases. Essentially, you battle it out against your friends and strangers using several booster packs of the brand new cards for the upcoming set that has yet to be released, hence the name pre-release. If this sounds interesting to you, let's take a step-by-step look at exactly how these events are run. Step 1. Locate your local game store. In order to participate in a pre-release event, you'll need to find one. If you do not already have a local game store that you frequent, I've included a link in the description to a website that will help you find a game store running a pre-release event near you. Now that you've found where you'll be participating, it's time to get registered. Usually stores will run events all weekend, maybe one on Friday, 2 on Saturday, and 1 on Sunday. Check with your LGS to see when the events are happening and which ones you would like to attend. Be sure to note that sometimes these events fill up fast, so you may need to pre-register to ensure you have a spot. It just depends on your store. Other times, you can just walk right in and register on the spot. Be sure to find out what is best for your situation. Alright, now that you're registered, it's time for the fun part. When it's time to start the event, you will get handed a pre-release pack like the ones on your screen now. For this set, there's only one pack that you can receive. In other sets, sometimes you have a choice, but for Lord of the Rings, we've got just the one. Now that you've got your pack, when the event begins, you'll be instructed to open your pack and begin your deck build. Now it varies from store to store, but usually you will have about 50 minutes or so to build your deck and get ready for your matches. Let's take a look at what you'll find when you open your pack. Inside you will find one traditional foil rare or mythic rare from Tales of Middle-earth with a year stamp, and here's an example of what that card might look like using a rare from the last set, March of the Machine. One traditional foil year stamped card from a pool of 6 pre-release promo cards, 1 helper card, 6 Tales of Middle-earth draft boosters, 1 20-sided spin down die, and 1 MTGA Arena code card. Now, you may have noticed a couple of unique items in that list, so let's go over them. Firstly, in your kit you will receive one of these 6 borderless scene cards. While each of these variants are versions of cards in the main set, you will not be able to include this foil stamped scene card in your sealed deck build. The first time we saw something similar to this was in the last set, March of the Machine, when you received one of these 3 cards in your kit as well. And while you were also technically not allowed to run these March of the Machine cards either, I did get word that some local game stores didn't quite get the memo and let you run them anyway. Just note that your LGS should be told that these 6 scene cards are not allowed in your final deck build. They're simply a cool collectible promo. The other thing that you'll see in your kit is a helper card. One of the key mechanics in this set is the ring tempting you, and this double-sided helper card will provide you with a roadmap on the front side so you can keep track of how many times you've been tempted, and the back side gives you some helpful rule reminders in case you need a refresher. The last thing I wanted to mention about the contents of your pre-release kit is the collation of the 6 Tales of Middle-earth draft boosters that you will receive. We've seen something called a flex spot in many recent sets, cards like the Multiverse Legends, the Retro Artifacts, and the Mystical Archive, and while it seemed like this slot would be here to stay, it has in fact left us for Tales of Middle-earth. We are returning to the slightly older and less confusing collation of draft packs for this set, as each pack will contain just 15 cards. You'll get 1 rare or mythic, 3 uncommons, 10 commons, a land, and a token card. Now you might get lucky and get some foils and even rare or mythic foils as well, but I wouldn't particularly count on it. Something unique about this set as well is that this set will be skipping standard when it comes to its legality. That's right, if you were hoping to pick up some of your favorite Tales of Middle-earth cards to slot into your favorite standard deck, you're out of luck. Each of these new cards will not be legal in standard, but rather skip straight to modern. So just take that into account when making your Lord of the Rings related purchases. One last thing before we build our decks. Pre-release events usually have a cost of somewhere around $25 to enter. Sometimes you get lucky and can find one for 20 bucks, or maybe your LGS charges 30, but it's usually in that range. Now, this set unfortunately does come with a higher price tag. Why is that? Who knows? But from what I've seen so far, it looks like the going rate will likely be somewhere around $35 to $50 to enter a Tales of Middle-earth pre-release event. Don't hate me, I'm just the messenger. Alright, we now have everything we need to begin our deck build. If you'd like to see an example of a Tales of Middle-earth sealed deck build, stick around until the next segment where I will build an entire sealed deck on screen for you to follow along with. Also, you can tune into the channel this Thursday, June 15th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a YouTube live stream of gameplay from this set as I once again participate in the Lord of the Rings Early Access event on MTG Arena. I will also be releasing VODs of my early access runs to the channel in the days following the event. If you're not subscribed yet, you will absolutely want to have those notifications turned on for the release of those videos. After you've built your deck, you will then be assigned an opponent by the event coordinator and you will play out your first match. Different stores will give you different amounts of matches for the event, usually it's a minimum of 3. Sometimes you might get lucky and be able to play 4 or more, it just depends. After you've finished your matches, you may qualify for some prizes, so be sure to check with the event coordinator to cash in on your winnings. Now, the hardest part about the whole event is how to build your deck, but great news! I will now go ahead and go through an entire sealed deck build to give you an idea of what you want to be looking for in your pool of cards and how to maximize your chance of having a competitive deck for the event. But before I do, a quick message from me. Thanks, me. Set review season is the perfect time to consider supporting the channel via the Patreon. We have several tiers over at the Daily Draft Patreon with rewards including access to my tier lists, early access to content, and access to the Daily Drafters Discord server. I'm incredibly proud of all the work on my tier lists, and here's an example of what these tier lists look like for March of the Machine, and as you'll see, I use a traditional A through F rating for every single card. I let you know if the card has moved up or down since my last update, and I give you the ability to hover over every single card and their card name to see a picture and clickable link to Scryfall. You'll also see that I customize tiers for every single draftable deck in the entire format. So if you're past Pack One Pick One and you want to know how I rank cards within certain archetypes, I've got customized ratings for every single draftable archetype as well. I'm currently working on my Lord of the Rings list and will have this released to Patreons in the Centaur Courser rewards tier as soon as I'm finished, guaranteed before the release of the set. If $5 is a bit too rich for your blood, we have $3 and $1 tiers that come with early access to content and admission to the Discord server, a great place to hang out and discuss all the happenings of a brand new set. And if a monetary donation isn't your speed, a subscription to the channel is also greatly appreciated and contribution enough. Thanks for your consideration, and now back to the set review content. Alright, let's go ahead and dive into this sealed deck build for Tales of Middle-earth. The website that I usually use for this portion of this video and practice drafts before releases on Arena is draftsim.com. I really do love that website. They can give you sealed pools for sets that haven't even released yet, in this case. The site that I'm on right now is sealeddeck.tech. I went ahead and got the pool in DraftSim and imported it over here to sealeddeck.tech. I like the actual building mechanisms here in sealeddeck.tech a little bit better than DraftSim, but DraftSim does give you great pools to start. So that's where I got this pool and then exported it or / imported it over here. The other thing before we dive into this build is that I won't be going over too many of the mechanics here. I have an entire video about that. You already saw it earlier, the archetype guide. If you want to go ahead and check out the archetype guide to make sure you know what I'm talking about when I just pull these cards in and out here, that'll be a lot easier for you to understand. So go ahead and check that video out if you haven't already. But we have a sealed deck build here, and when I take cards out of the packs in front of me in paper when I'm doing my deck builds in paper, I sort by color when I'm doing it, just so I have an idea of what I've got more of. You can see I've got a little bit more white than black here. But as soon as I do that, The next thing I do is sort by rarity, because the most important thing is to make sure that you check out what your rares and mythics are, and if you can fit them into your deck, because in sealed it's pretty important to do so. So what do we have? Storm of Saruman, not a good one, unfortunately. So this is not really going to go in any deck. Rangers of Athelion is a great one though. 4 mana 3/3, can exile a creature till it leaves. Sharky is effectively unplayable. King of the Oathbreakers is quite good. It's a 4 mana 3/3 that can't be removed except in combat. And if they try to remove it, you get free spirits. It's pretty insane. Eowyn Fearless Knight is a great red-white aggressive card, and Sting the Glinting Dagger is, I mean, fine. It may be like a sideboard card against orcs and goblins or something. But we kind of struck out on the rares. We kind of have Rangers, King, and Eowyn as the three that I'm looking at here, and unfortunately they don't really go in the same decks. So then I kind of look at the uncommons and see where we're going, and full transparency, I looked at this pool a little bit before I started here just so I can have an idea of where I wanted to go, and I saw two decks that stood out to me, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of put them together for you here as options. I noticed I have Shadowfax and Eowyn, which are great red-white aggressive cards. Gimli is another. You know, it's a 4 mana 4/3 trample, and then whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, it pings them for 1. Another pretty good aggressive card. Ranger's Firebrand is like shock at sorcery speed, but you get tempted as well. We have Landramal, we have Faramir, we have You Cannot Pass. We also have Reprieve and Build a Pony, but I don't think those are particularly good. So from uncommons and rares, we have a pretty good start to a red-white deck here. So I'm going to go ahead and move things around a little bit as I kind of build this out. So Esquire the King, 1 mana 1/1, later in the game can tap and buff your whole board. We'll start with a couple of those. Dundane Blade, pretty good in red-white humans, which is, you know, 2 mana for equip 1/2/1, which is quite good, probably in our case. Slip on the Ring, probably not for us. Took Reaper, fine, 2 mana 2/1. Where'd it go? There it is. All right, Westfold Rider, 2 mana 3/1. You can sack it, destroy an artifact or enchantment at sorcery speed. It's an aggressive human, and we've got 3 of them. So there we go. Fog on the Barrow Downs is a removal spell that's not great, but it's might have to do here. Second Breakfast is a combat trick that I don't think I want to start. Now for Wrath, now for Ruin. Maybe we'll see. Protector of Gondor, pretty good in humans. And Banish from Edoras. 2 less to cast if it targets a tapped creature, exile target creature. It might be a necessary evil. So then in red, what do we have here? Rush the Room as combat tricks. Sure. Battlescar Goblin, 2 mana 2/2 that kind of attacks pretty well into things. Cast the Fire, I don't think is a card I want to start in this format. Swarming of Moria, probably same thing. Fire of Orthanc, no thank you. Olagai Crusher, probably not. We're playing more humans. Relentless Rohirrim, maybe. We're already kind of crowded in the 4 spot. And Oliphant, maybe. And then a couple of Wizard's Rockets as well. So this is what I'm looking at for a start of a red-white deck here. 23, I'd probably want 1 more and then play 16 lands. That's usually what I'd like to do in these aggressive decks. You'll also notice you might be scraping the bottom of the barrel when it comes to some sealed deck builds. As far as playables, I don't really want to play some of these cards here, but they might have to get played. So this is where my mind first went. We're lacking a lot of 3-drops, which is weird. Can fit in some of these if we have to. So that's 23. I mean, maybe we could play Second Breakfast. We only have 15 creatures, which isn't outstanding. I don't really want another 4-drop, if we're being honest. I mean, maybe like a Swarming of Moria. I don't really like it, though. It's kind of like a creature. Something like this in 16 lands is a potential for the first deck that I was thinking, and I don't think it's too bad. Sometimes in sealed, if you can put together a good aggro deck, it does pretty well against your opponents because they're not really expecting it, and usually sealed is a slower format, So if you have a good aggro deck, I'd say go for it. Now we can clear that deck, sort by rarity again, and then the other thing I saw was blue-black. Now, Sharky is not necessarily a reason to do that. It's a 4-mana 2/4 with basically no text for limited. But the other things I saw, we have Double Bath Song, which I don't know how good that is, but we do have a Mouth of Sauron, and we have Meneldur Swift Savior, which is, it could be fine, and Bill Ferny, 2-mana 2/1, whenever it becomes block, you either get a treasure or give away a horse, I suppose. So let's see what we can fill out in blue-black. Mirkwood Bats is a really, really good common, but I'm not sure how good it's going to be in this kind of blue-black deck, where I'm not sure how many tokens we would be creating. Torment of Gollum, that is a token. I don't really like it, though. Oh, I put that in there. Snarling Warg, probably not. Mortar Trebuchet, probably not. Uruk-hai Berserker, I mean, maybe. Claim the Precious is a good removal spell. Destroy target creature it tempts you. Ambush, Lash. We're not really sacrificing much. Dunland Crabane might be fine. We've got a Kingfisher. We've got the Isolation, which is a good removal spell. Lorien Revealed is whatever. So this is where my mind went as well, and I'm already struggling. I'm at 11, and I'm not really happy with where I'm at here. So I'd probably clear that. And then, I mean, I didn't really like my green. Brandywine Farmer is okay. We don't really have any of the green-white uncommons, which you really need for the green-white food deck, in my opinion. So I think the first deck that I had up here is probably where I'm landing with this particular pool here, and I think, make sure I can recreate it as I had it here. Shadowfax for sure, Eowyn for sure, and then everything else was just white cards. We have a good amount of white cards here. Probably Now for Wrath, Now for Ruin, Fog the Barrow Downs, all the Riders, sure. Took Reaper, You Cannot Pass, seems okay. The Blade is good, and Double Esquire. We still have 2 more cards that I couldn't find. Don't exactly remember. Another Firebrand was another combat trick, and we definitely had more creatures here. Gimli, can't miss Gimli. And that might have been it. Think that's what we had, and then we do this and then add 16 lands. Don't really like my curve a ton, but I think it's what I've got out of this pool, and I think this is probably what I would run. I've noticed this pool is pretty underpowered. I hope that most pools in this format aren't the same, because an underpowered Zeal pool is slightly less than fun. But that's what we've got here. We've got a decent little red-white aggro deck, and that's how I'd run it back, and hopefully go and get that trophy. So hopefully this helped you out. Thanks for tuning in. I hope this entire video was beneficial to you and helps you build up the courage needed to go participate in a pre-release event at your LGS this weekend. If you've never been to one before, I highly recommend it. It's one of the absolute most fun ways to play Magic, and you'll meet tons of different players there. If you do end up going, return back to this video and leave a comment to let me know how it went for you. I'd love to hear feedback from each and every one of you about your event. Thanks so much for sticking around to the end of this video, and I will see you soon here at Daily Draft.